gentlewoman from Georgia, Ms. Williams, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the member of Congress representing Atlanta, the city with the highest racial wealth gap in the country, I'm focused on creating an economy of inclusion, an economy that works for everyone and brings the most marginalized into our economy. Americans and Atlantans flourish when the economy works for everyone. The Federal Reserve has a mandate of maximum employment that is measured by analyzing various data points of economic conditions. In 2020, the Federal Reserve updated its approach to fulfilling and measuring this mandate to include job growth that was broad-based and inclusive. Chairman Powell, do you agree that broad-based and inclusive growth means job growth that helps reduce racial, employment, unemployment, and wage disparities?
I think it means what it says. We don't target any particular. We can't really target a particular racial or ethnic group with that, but we like to think that our decisions are informed by an understanding of diverse groups across the economy.
Well, Chairman Powell, could you share examples of how the Fed is including broad-based and inclusive job growth in the maximum employment mandate?
Sure, I'd be glad to. So one thing we do is it's always part of the data that we look at each meeting. We always talk about it. We always mention it. Different unemployment rates and labor force participation rates and wage rates and things like that by racial, ethnic, gender groups and that kind of thing. That's always in the data that we look at and talk about. That's the first thing. So it informs our pursuit of maximum employment. We're trying to take a broader and more inclusive understanding of what that statutory goal means.
Thank you. 2 weeks ago, the Federal Trade Commission released data indicating that Georgians reported the most fraud and scam claims of any other state in 2022, amounting to millions of stolen money. The Federal Reserve's website has resources to help consumers protect themselves from scams where criminals leverage the Federal Reserve's name, including emails claiming potential victims are eligible for lottery winnings, robocalls threatening arrest in exchange for money, and other phishing communications. Chairman Powell, how does the Federal Reserve measure whether its counter-fraud communications are reaching the most vulnerable households and communities, especially those that might not be following the Federal Reserve press releases or your website or have limited access to broadband?
So we do, when those kind of scams happen, particularly when they involve us, we go on social media to try to reach people and tell them that if they're contacted by someone pretending to be a Federal Reserve person, that's not. So we do that. We work with our Inspector General who works with law enforcement to make sure that law enforcement's involved. So we're aware of these scams. I think you're talking about the ones that involve people pretending to be a Federal Reserve person and get in touch with me and we'll send you some money. And so we do what we can to reach out to the public on that.
So is that after the fact, but what happens before so that the general public is aware that this is happening? For those people who are not on social media or tracking is there another way to get this information out to the general public?
We do what we can. We're not an institution that deals with the general public very much. We deal with banks and of course our rate hikes and rate cuts, our monetary policy affects all Americans. But I think when something like that happens, it's a broad program. It's a bunch of people who are perpetuating a fraud on many, many people, and we try to get out there quickly and try to reach people, and again, also alert law enforcement.
Thank you, Chairman. And Chairman McHenry, I yield back the balance of my time.
That is very kind and gracious of you. The first of the day. We need to commend that for the record.